On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about triumph and disaster by We Lost the Sea. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
And we're two professional broadcasters, and we love metal, and we like to talk about it. And that's what we're going to do here tonight. Before we get to the metal, I mean, it's metal adjacent.
It is metal adjacent. I was listening to it and I'm thinking, I don't know if this qualifies. It's good, but I don't know if it qualifies as metal.
There's some really heavy stuff on
There
here.
is.
It's just not all heavy.
Right. It's very dynamic.
Yes, it's good enough for me, and I really wanted to talk about this, and it wasn't out when we were doing our non-metal month, so I figured I'm not going to wait until March to talk about this, and to me, it's heavy enough. So
yeah, you look at their page; they are a post-rock / metal band.
Yeah, post-rock, post-metal is what they say. What happened to my phone? Oh, I left it over there.
Oh no!
Why did I do that?
He's getting up now. He's walking over toward his other desk, and he's picking up his phone. Now he's returning to the table. He's sitting
towards
down.
My other desk.
Well, yeah.
I live in such opulence. I have two desks in one room. This is a table, good sir.
Okay. Well,
this is a table.
So is that then?
Yeah, you're right.
His other table then.
All my expensive electronic equipment is sitting on a plastic folding table. It has metal legs.
It's metal legs. Yeah, all right. It's all about the metal.
It's all about the metal. But before we get to the metal for today, a lot happened.
A lot?
In the last week. A lot happened.
Well, yeah, you went to Las Vegas.
I went to Viva Viagra. I mean, Las Vegas.
Sin City.
Went to Sin City, and Frank Miller was there, and he looked. No, not Frank Miller. Sorry, who's the one who did Sin City?
Yeah, Frank Miller.
Was it Frank Miller?
Yeah.
I thought it was the other guy who did Watchmen.
What? No.
Did he not do Sin City?
No, it was Frank Miller's Sin City, wasn't it? Yeah.
I don't know. Who did? Because the guy who did Watchmen also did 300. The comic 300. Because Zack Snyder is apparently a big fan of that fella.
Sure. Frank Miller. Yeah. Frank Miller, you were a novelist, screenwriter. That kind of graphic novel. Okay, Daredevil, Born Again, Dark Knight Returns. Year one, Sin City.
Oh, okay. It was Frank Miller.
Yeah.
I thought it was the other guy. Who's the other guy?
I'm blanking on it right now. I feel like I'm on the spot.
Who's always angry about everything.
Yeah, who doesn't like any adaptation of The Watchmen.
It doesn't like any adaptation of his work, period. Right. I don't think he's liked anything that someone has made from what he's written.
Right.
He's a very curmudgeonly fellow. Curmudgeonly old British wizard.
So it makes me wonder what else he's done then. I mean,
that guy?
Yeah.
That whose name we can't remember?
Yeah.
He did Watchmen. He did 300. He's written a bunch of other slightly less famous graphic novels and stuff.
Frank Miller did 300.
Frank Miller also did 300.
Yeah.
Okay, what the fuck else did the Watchmen guy do? I know he's done other stuff.
I feel like we're cheating here, but
I mean, we're not paid to remember.
No, we're not.
Who these people are. We're not cheating.
I can't. Man, you know what? I just can't read.
All right, I will look it up. My eyes work slightly better than yours.
Well, it's because you have glasses on them.
You're not wrong. Watchmen.
Dave Gibbons, Alan Moore.
Alan Moore.
Yes.
Moore. Good old Alan Moore doesn't like anything anyone has ever done. Do you know what? Could you open your phone back up and see what else he's done since you obviously had it pulled up before I did?
You know, I feel like at this point, everybody who's listening is looking at their phone. So.
This is going nowhere.
Yeah. Let's see. Alan Moore has also done. Let's see. V for Vendetta.
Oh yeah, that's the other famous thing that he did.
And The Killing Joke.
Oh, Alan Moore wrote The Killing Joke?
Apparently, yeah.
I didn't know that. Because that's one of the more famous Batman comics, except for the thing that Frank Miller did, which is Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, the Killing Joke is basically the origin story for Joker.
The Joker, yep.
Yeah.
which is what the new Joker movie's partially based on.
Partially.
Loosely.
Yeah.
Inspired by is probably a better term for it. But anyway, we went down this tangent because I went to Sin City.
Yeah. Yeah, and you say you spent one of the nights in your room?
Yeah, I spent just one of the nights just relaxing in my room, listening to a little bit of sleep for reasons.
Yeah, for some gummy reasons.
Yeah, it's legal there.
Sure.
I purchased myself some cannabis treats.
Yeah.
It's legal there. I didn't bring any back to a place where it's illegal. I don't see the issue in talking about that. Mm-hmm. And I had a good time. You know, I'm not a huge cannabis guy, but it's just nice. It's pleasant.
Sure.
That's it. It wasn't, life-changing or anything. It was pleasant.
It felt good. You had a good time.
Yeah. And
you had some ice cream.
I was relaxing for what felt like the first time that weekend, because Vegas, especially if you're not there for a while, it is so much moving around. You're always moving around, going to some other place and walking place, especially if you're on the Strip, you're walking everywhere. And it's like, I kind of figured out that it's not really my sort of place.
Sure.
It is a little too busy.
It's not my kind of place either, except for if I do it for 3 or 4 days, I will do it for those 3 or 4 days. It really scratches an itch for me.
Yeah.
By the time it's over, it's like, all right, that itch has been scratched for
you can commit to
a long
that
time. Yeah.
And that's surprising to me because you've told me you're not much of a gambler.
Oh, no.
Because neither am I. And that's
Right.
I wasn't interested in gambling or anything.
Just walking around seeing some crazy shit and maybe going to shows, eating food I normally wouldn't pay $70 to eat.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Racking up a credit card debt and then paying it off the rest of the year.
Yeah. Well, and I think shows might have been the thing that I was missing a little bit because I didn't go to any shows. My sister went to Lady Gaga, but I wasn't really interested in going. I feel
Why?
like I don't know. I feel like I'd probably enjoy a Lady Gaga show. Actually,
Sure.
She's very creative, and
She's
I'm sure
a showman. Yeah.
she's a showwoman.
A showwoman.
A showwoman.
Showwoman.
That sounds like something from Dune. She's one of the showwomen. She has powers of foresight.
A Japanese warrior of some sort.
Or that, yeah.
Yeah.
Some sort of rank in feudal Japan. But I didn't go with and that was the night that I spent in the room.
Right.
My mom and my sister were at Lady Gaga, and then my dad and my brother-in-law were gambling.
Yeah.
So I just decided to relax a little bit. Also, oversharing a little bit.
Okay.
My ass was chaffed.
Sure.
6 ways to Sunday.
Oh well, yeah, from all the walking, and you get sweat rash, and you get.
So it was like moving around was unpleasant. So I needed a rest.
You always bring lots of changes of underwear when you go to Vegas.
Yeah, and I did. I mean, anytime I go anywhere away from my dresser, I bring at least one extra pair of underwear.
Like to work?
No, even that's not that far away from my dresser.
That's true.
You remember that time I ripped my pants at work, and I was just like, I'm gonna go home and change.
I'll be back.
I'll be back in a couple minutes. But anytime I go on any trip, I always pack extra pairs of underwear because you never know.
No,
you never ever know when you're gonna shit yourself on a plane or something.
First you do it, then you say it.
Speaking of shitting myself, a place where I definitely didn't shit myself because I wasn't that scared was Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum.
It wasn't that scary.
It was. I mean, there's lots of occult stuff which I find neat, but I don't believe in. I'm not. We've kind of both discussed how we're both very skeptical. So I don't believe in ghosts or demons or anything like that. But there's I'm interested in the occult.
Sure.
Because the people who are into the occult are usually interesting themselves.
Indeed.
And so I'm interested in that. But I wasn't thinking like, oh, something's gonna follow me home. I wasn't thinking that way. But there's a lot of neat stuff. They had Ed Gein's Cauldron. They had
awesome.
Dr. Kevorkian's van. They had those were the two most famous things. They also had some Charles Manson accoutrement, some stuff from John Wayne Gacy.
Right, they had John Wayne Gacy's tennis shoes, wasn't it?
No. Several paintings actually done by John Wayne Gacy of him as the clown or whatever.
Right,
self-portraits.
Pogo the Clown.
Yeah. and just sort of neat kind of serial killer stuff like that, and lots of spooky dolls and all that sort of stuff. They also had something from Anton LaVey, which they claimed was haunted, and I was kind of looking at that going like, Satanism was just like LaVeyan Satanism, I feel like, was just an excuse for him to have orgies with celebrities.
Sure.
That was I feel like that was mostly it. I mean, he was a weird guy and probably believed in all sorts of crazy stuff, but I feel like at least 75% of it was him getting to have orgies in his awesome house. Just like how, Scientology starting out was 99% Ron L. Hubbard trying to figure out how to rob people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, to get money. Yeah. He wanted to get rich, sure.
Whereas LaVeyan Satanism, I don't think has ever been about money. There's not much money in LaVeyan Satanism.
No.
Or any kind of Satanism. There's not much money in that. But there is some awesome parties. But yeah, I enjoyed that. It was fun. The only thing that scared me and that I didn't like because it was scary is they had a section that had nothing to do with haunting. It was just Halloween. So they had a section that was basically a scary. Do they call it? It's
like haunted house kind of thing.
Yeah, haunted house.
Yeah, haunted
I feel like they should call it something other than a haunted house because they're not supposed to be ghosts. It's always a clown with a chainsaw and shit. That's not haunted.
And it's never really in a house.
Yeah,
it's always in.
It's always some place that is very specifically set up for this event.
Raising money for the library.
Yeah, like you can go down to Fort. What's the fort south of Bismarck?
Is
that Fort Lincoln?
Yeah, Fort Lincoln. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could go down to Fort Lincoln, and every year they have a big haunted house set up.
The haunted fort.
Yeah, the haunted fort, basically, and it's in one of the old restored barracks.
Sure. It'll be funny. It'd be funny if it was just a bunch of kitchen chairs and blankets.
Kitchen chairs and blankets, and here's the haunted armory with the scariest thing possible: guns.
And knickknacks.
Little buttons to put on your very puffy coat because it's the mid to late 1800s. But they should call it something other than a haunted house. But they had that section set up, and it was full of scary clown shit. And I don't fucking like clowns.
Really?
So that was, and I was walking through the whole thing going, fuck this, fuck that, fuck. Like there was some people that they had, sort of walking around to scare people and fuck you, fuck this, fuck that, trying to maintain a little bit of composure via anger.
Sure.
That was the only part that scared me, and it had nothing to do with ghosts or demons or anything.
There was one guy who was just an Insane Clown Posse fan.
It was just a juggalo that was on the tour with me. Fuck you. Hey man,
I'm nothing. I'm just taking a tour. That's my vacation.
That's mean.
Uncalled for.
There was this goth couple that was with us. The girl was she seemed very frightened. It was like, you should be having the time of your life. I thought goths lived for this shit. But no, she seemed very frightened through the whole thing.
She was goth for the makeup.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I thought goths lived for this shit. But apparently not. Apparently not her anyway. But yeah, that was neat. That was like one of the few things that we went on as like a tour sort of dealio. We're possibly going to go to the Mob Museum. I've been there before, the time that I was in Vegas, where I was not able to partake in any sort of libations.
Sure.
And I really enjoyed that. I like, that's the part that I would have liked. Like, I like museums.
Yeah.
I like museums. I'm a museum and a national park kind of guy. Those are the vacations that I like to take. I want beautiful scenery and I want history.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of that in Vegas, but that's not the advertised part of Vegas.
Right. There's this vast junkyard with old Vegas signs in it.
Yeah, and we didn't get to go to that.
Yeah.
We had talked about it, but we didn't end up doing it. So if I were to go back, I think I would try stay in some place off the strip, and I want to see the historic parts of Vegas, which I guess Fremont technically counts, but
sure.
Fremont is also part of the advertised Vegas experience as well.
I did the zip line last time I was there.
So did I. We did.
You did the zip line.
Yep,
that's fun.
I did the sitting up one though, because the laying down, it was the evening, so the laying down one was way more expensive.
Really?
Because they changed their prices throughout the day.
Oh. So we were there at 1 p.m.
Yeah. It gets more expensive at night, and the same goes for the high roller, the big. It's not a Ferris wheel. It's I don't know what they call that type of wheel. An architectural marvel, because we were riding that and I was going, how the fuck does this thing work? Because it's just cables that are all tensioned against each other and this giant wheel that how? I think the one in London works similarly. Yeah. Although I think there's only cables on one side in the one in London. It's not symmetrical.
I haven't been to London yet.
Neither have I.
Man.
See, in London, lots of museums.
Yeah.
I'd just Europe, lots of museums.
It's one big museum.
Yeah. And so I would enjoy the hell out of that.
They have castles everywhere.
Yeah. And there, you know what? There's also alcohol and a lot of readily available public transportation.
I thought you were going to say about readily available pot.
It depends on where you go.
I suppose, yeah.
But
story of my friend Beth getting on the plane in Amsterdam, just being so incredibly high she couldn't cope with dealing with luggage or security or anything like that.
Oh my
She's
God.
I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail.
See, I can't remember because in Amsterdam, technically weed is not legal. It's just decriminalized.
Right.
So, like places that sell it cannot advertise that they sell weed. I can't remember what they call those places. It's usually like a
coffee shop kind of thing.
Yeah, they call it a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Because and everyone knows that a coffee shop sells weed, whereas like a coffee house actually sells coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was something I was reading about that just the other week. Yeah, I was talking about Europe and like how there's alcohol and whatnot. Like,
yeah, and museums.
And part of the thing with cannabis is
you keep calling it cannabis.
I don't know. Saying weed feels weird.
Marijuana.
Because I wasn't smoking weed.
No, you were taking a THC supplement.
Yeah, and part of it that was appealing to me for the trip was, I like drinking. We're drinking right now. We've got some beer. I like beer. I like whiskey.
Sure.
I enjoy alcohol, but
you don't want to do it and walk around.
Yeah, I don't want to do it and walk around. If I'm drinking, I want to stay where I'm at. I want to either stay at the bar or I want to stay in my house and sit on my couch and watch something. I don't want to have to walk around with a stomach full of alcohol just sloshing around, or a stomach full of burger with alcohol put on top of it. And the problem with me is I'm a big guy. So if I wanted to do the Vegas thing, which is keep a decent buzz, for most of the time you're there, because that's what people do. Right. If I were to do that, I would have to drink so much fucking alcohol because I'm a big guy. So I think weed was just it's more sustainable. Sure. If that's the experience you're going for, 'cause it wasn't that expensive either. For what it was. So I guess recommend it. I don't know. I don't want to recommend, weed. It cures what ails you.
Does the body good.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it. Is just it's fine. It's nice. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's nice. That's as far as my advocacy goes. But it was a fun trip regardless. I like flying. I like being on planes. I was going to get a window seat on the way there. My dad stole it from me. So I was like, that's my ticket. And he's like, too bad. It's like, but they said it's a balanced plane. You're supposed to sit in your assigned seat. I didn't say that. No. I was just like, okay. I got the row, not the row seat, the
aisle seat.
I got the aisle seat. So
the
that was
row seat.
I don't fucking know. I don't know plain terms.
I am Kale. I am a real human.
100% real human. But yeah, I got the aisle seat, so I got a little bit more leg room and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And easy access to the alcohol cart.
Sure.
Because that's what it was to me. It was an alcohol cart. It was not a candy cart.
No.
I did get Pringles later on in the flight, though. But
see, when I went, I came back first class.
Oh,
nice. It was worth it.
Yeah.
Worth every penny.
Although, what airline did you fly back on that they had a first class?
Was it Frontier or was it Delta? Flew back Delta.
Okay, because we were on Allegiant, and Allegiant planes are tiny.
Yeah, there's no first. There's a front row.
Yeah,
there's not a first class.
There's no such thing as class on Allegiant. But on the way back, I got a window seat and was able to enjoy a fair amount of the flight when I wasn't trying to sleep because it was very early in the morning. When I wasn't trying to sleep, I would look out the window. I kind of have to scrunch down uncomfortably in order to look out, and then right about when we got to somewhere around Wyoming, there was just clouds, so I couldn't see anything anymore.
So you just went to sleep.
Yeah, well, yeah, for the most part. I would check every now and then to see if I could see anything, because I always like looking at North Dakota from above.
Sure.
Because
of all the stuff that there is to see.
Well, when you're flying out of Bismarck to Vegas,
sure.
If you look out, you kind of realize how much more hilly the terrain actually is in central North Dakota. If you were flying out of Fargo, yeah, there's nothing to fucking look at.
No.
It's just cross-hatched. It's the flannel of the earth.
And by the way, I love it when in movies, there's been plenty of movies where they've had Fargo, North Dakota in there.
Yeah.
There was one about Gordon Call and the Posse Comitatus, and they showed the FBI flowing into Fargo, and as the plane is landing, there are these big picturesque mountains in the background. I'm like, I call bullshit.
Or like Logan.
Yeah.
Right across the Canadian border, there are these huge mountains. It's like, this is North Dakota. Now, if this was Western Montana,
sure, certainly
it might look like that, although the desert that you just went through wouldn't be there. But no, central Saskatchewan, south central Saskatchewan does not look like that.
No.
No. But yeah, if you kind of look out, if you're flying southwest, not the airline, the direction.
Right.
If you're flying southwesterly, and you look out the window from the Bismarck Airport, you can it becomes more apparent that there is a lot more verticality, and you can kind of see all of the I'm forgetting the precise geographical term, but areas where water flows down, and it's sort of making patterns in the earth and that
gullies and rivers. And
yes, there we go. And I enjoy that because I like geography. So
I see Earth. Earth is lumpy.
Earth is lumpy. Yeah. The only other thing I have to talk about is something that I discussed a little bit with you earlier today. Last night we delayed recording the podcast because D&D night got moved to Wednesday temporarily.
Right. Sure.
And I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm psyched. I decided last week I was going to multi-class into Barbarian. So I was a Barbarian 1 and Paladin 12. And I was like, all right, this is a really cool multi-class idea. And we got into a big fight with a creature known as a Death Knight, an undead creature. And things were going really well until suddenly they weren't. And everyone died.
Everyone died.
It's what's called a TPK for total party kill. It does not happen very often, usually, especially not in 5th edition. And it had never happened to our DM. He had never done that, and I could tell he felt pretty badly about it. But it never happened to me as a player, and I nearly TPK'd a party as a DM one time.
Sure.
But they managed to take my advice I gave them before they got into the fight, which was get the thing in the middle of the room out from under him and run.
Which they didn't do.
Some of them decided they were going to stand and fight, and they died. And it was the same enemy, actually. It was also a Death Knight, but they were much lower level.
If your DM says, let me make a suggestion, you take the suggestion.
Yeah. I would suggest not fighting this guy one.
Oh, but we want to fight. No, let me say that again.
You guys are level 10. this is a Tarask. Maybe don't fight it mano a mano because he will chomp you. But yeah, it was and it was a close enough fight. Like if we hadn't had some pretty shitty rolls, we might have actually won that thing. But it didn't. It was not to be. So now we're all making new characters, and I was upset for about 5 minutes, and I was like apprehensive for about another 10 minutes. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I don't have any ideas. And then pretty quickly, I started getting excited because I had a really good idea. And that's sort of the cycle that happens whenever your D&D character dies. Is you're like, I really like that character. I don't, what am I gonna do now? And then it's like, oh, hey, I got an idea. At least that's what it's like for me. So that was nice. Oh yes, one short other thing. I'm looking at adopting a cat.
A cat, yeah. I'm now vouching for Mr. Cat Adopter over here.
Yes, you are a reference. I'm looking at adopting this adorable ragdoll mix at Furry Friends Rock and Rescue in Mandan, North Dakota. If anyone is down there and is also not related to me by blood or marriage, I'd recommend, if you're looking for a pet, going to them because adopting is great. And I'm really hoping that they consider my application and I get it because she's adorable.
So you're going to have to put this out tonight then, right? So that it has potential to fall on those ears.
No.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
Okay.
I'm recommending other people visit them, but I'm waiting to put this out so I don't have more competition.
Oh.
I'm just waiting to put this out like I regularly do.
Right.
But yeah, I'm hopeful about that. So the album.
Yes.
Triumph and Disaster.
Yes.
It is the fourth. I need to look at the Wikipedia page now. It is the new album at the very least. It
just came out not too long ago.
Very recently in the last couple of weeks here. From We Lost the Sea. They are a post-rock / post-metal band from Australia.
Instrumental band.
Yes, now they are instrumental.
Yeah.
That's a very important distinction because they weren't always an instrumental band. Their first two albums had a vocalist, and that was sort of what earned them the post-metal sobriquet. Is that the right term?
Sobriquet?
Yeah,
Sure.
that's what earned them that because most of their vocals were screamed vocals.
Oh, wow.
It was, like a slightly spacier Neurosis.
Oh, okay.
Almost.
Well, real spacier Neurosis.
Well, less heavy.
Okay. Yeah.
Slightly less heavy. Like still heavy, but it was where Neurosis is more sludge metal, this was more metalcore.
Sure.
But still very much rooted in post metal rather than strictly being metalcore. Then before I think in 2014. Their vocalist, whom they had since they formed the band in 2007, committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
And they put on a couple of benefit shows in his memory and then started working on a new album, which they called Departure Songs, which is...
The album prior to this one.
Yeah, the album prior to this one that came out in 2015.
Yeah.
Which was a resounding success for them. And it's something I think they greatly deserved. Not only for what happened, but also because it's just a masterful album that has songs about and is dedicated to all manner of people that either died or risked their lives in the attempt of doing something positive.
Sure.
The first song is called A Gallant Gentleman. It is about, I can't recall the name, is a famous British explorer who died on an expedition in Antarctica. The next song is called Bogatiri, which is the name comes from a Slavic myth. Specifically, I think it's Ukrainian, which refers to these three knights that sort of a Slavic version of like the Knights Errant.
Sure.
That would go around helping people and fighting and solving problems for people and that sort of thing. And it is about the three men who volunteered to go into the basement in Chernobyl.
Oh, wow.
When it was filled with water. And they volunteered to go in and open up these sluice gates so they could drain water. That way, if the elephant's foot, which was radioactive lava, essentially, were to melt through the base of the power plant, it would not hit that water and cause another explosion, which would have rendered half of Europe entirely uninhabitable.
Wow.
So they risked their lives, and all three of them actually lived, which is not widely known. It was widely reported that they all died, actually. But all three of them, at least according to multiple Ukrainian sources, and at the time it would have been Soviet sources, they all three lived. One of them lived until 2016 when he died of a heart attack because he was old.
Not even of cancer.
Yeah, not even of cancer. I think all three of them. There might have been complications, but it wasn't typically what you think of from radiation exposure.
Sure.
And the next song on that album was called The Last Dive of David Shaw. He was a Australian American diver. I think he was born in America. He lived in Australia. He was a scuba diver, a cave diver specifically.
Neat.
And he was diving in this extremely deep sinkhole in South Africa, and committed himself to recovering the body of a young man who was also a cave diver who had died there like a year previously.
Wow.
And he was like, I want to make this dive, and he told the guy's parents, like, I'm going to make this dive, I want to set a record, but I'm also going to try and recover your son's body. They figured out where it was, and he went down to find it, and things started going wrong, and there was an extreme buildup of CO2 basically in his mask, and he ended up dying trying to get the body free. And he actually did get the body free, and but
he died doing it.
Yeah, and they were all about to give up and leave, and about a day later, both their bodies floated up to the surface.
Wow.
So they managed to recover the previous diver's body as well as his own. And he did end up setting a record. And then the final two are both dedicated to the Challenger crew. It's Challenger Part 1 and Challenger Part 2. The first one is about, the first one depicts anyway the space flight going off and ends with the explosion essentially. And then the next one is called Swan Song, which is just this beautiful, it's the first like moment of light on the album where things feel less emotionally heavy, and there's this great moment of catharsis, and it's just this beautiful uplifting track, and it ends with President Reagan's address to the nation.
Wow. Like in 1986?
Yeah, when it was the day.
Yeah.
The day of, because it was supposed to be the State of the Union address, but he put it off to just make a short address to everyone about Challenger. And it's a wonderful, wonderful song. And this album follows some of the same formula, but sort of expands on it and utilizes a little bit more of their tool set, I think. So this album, like we said, came out a couple weeks ago. And it is about, the concept here is about a mother and her son basically experiencing the end of the world, experiencing the death of the planet. And that's essentially the concept of the album.
Yes.
And, I knew that going in, like, oh, this is supposed to be about, the end of the world. But I feel like if you didn't know it, you'd get that feeling, even though it's all instrumental.
Yeah, I mean, there's
excluding the last song, which is not instrumental. But I feel like you get that feeling.
Not the instrumental, which has vocals on it.
Yes, it has the last song has vocals on it, but the rest of the album feels like, the entire album to me feels apocalyptic. It feels final. It feels desperate and epic and huge.
Yeah.
And foreboding. And there is, unlike the previous album, which was all long tracks, this one has a couple shorter interludes to sort of break things up
but still some pretty long tracks on there.
Yeah. There are still multiple 13-minute plus tracks on this record, because that's what you get when you have post-rock and post-metal. That's just par for the course. But it's I really like this. What did you think?
I enjoyed it as well. I mean, when I was listening to it, I didn't feel like I was listening to a metal album.
Yeah.
I felt like I was listening to something that sort of transcended that. It's
that's why they call it post-metal.
Yeah. There was a lot of clean guitar work, a lot of very haunting a lot of haunting music in here.
Yeah. I mean, appropriately for an album about the death of a planet.
Sure.
This album, interestingly enough, there's not a lot of albums that I've listened to that make me want to play bass.
Really?
Something about this album makes me want to be a bass player.
I have a bass.
I'm sure you could teach me too.
Sure.
But yeah, there's something about it. If you listen for it, there's some really, really good bass tones on this record. I mean, good tones overall. I don't think you can have post-rock and have post-metal without having good guitar tones.
Right.
Like that's the entirety of the music is the guitar tone. It's a bit like doom metal in that respect, except instead of having the dirtiest, fuzziest and heaviest, you want something that is cleaner and has a lot more presence and is more dynamic and that sort of thing.
And they use a lot of different guitar tones on here.
Oh, yes. So many.
A lot of different.
So many. And including some very heavy distortion, too. The first two tracks are by far the heaviest ones. They break it up a little bit. One of the other tracks a little bit later on sort of gets back into the heavy, as it were. Let me pull it up on my Spotify on my phone so I can remember the names of some of them.
Right, because that's why I had to pull it out so I can remember the names of the songs.
Yeah, The Last Sun is the final big track before you get to Mother's Hymn, which is the finale. In The Last Sun... The Last Sun is such a tease too, because at the end there is this really long buildup, and you think it's gonna unleash into this just massive. No, it just cuts off. It actually like it cuts off mid beat. Yeah. I think, and I think it's brilliant the way they do that. I like the first time I was like, oh come on, but it was I thought it was brilliant the way that they did that, because I feel like that was the death. That was the end of the world right there.
And then the epilogue is a Mother's Hymn.
Yeah. If I were to compare it to like Melancholia, for example, the Lars von Trier movie.
Yeah.
The end of the world isn't this perfect crescendo. It's like, no, a big planet just smashes into Earth.
Sure.
And that's it. So I thought that was brilliant. And then Mother's Hymn is... Oh my God, that song gives me chills. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous vocals from, I can't remember her name. I was reading a review earlier today and they mentioned her name. Just gorgeous vocals, and the refrain on that song is "Are we really too late?" Which is sort of, I feel like that is stepping out of the concept of the album. I mean, the concept is appropriate anyway for what's been going on in the world for the last 2 centuries. But I feel like the last song sort of takes a little bit more effort to step out of the concept, and it's asking, are we really too late? Is it too late to save our world?
Can we turn this thing around?
Yeah, and I don't know, but it gives me chills and it puts tears in my eyes. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous song. Like I said, the first 2 songs are kind of the heaviest. You've got Towers and A Beautiful Collapse.
A Beautiful Collapse is my favorite track on the album.
I really like that one too.
Yeah.
I kind of want to say that Mother's Hymn is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Simply because it is the most repeatable.
Yeah.
Because it is not 15 minutes long.
You can listen to it again after you're done listening to it. I want to hear that again.
Yeah, I love all these tracks, and I definitely would say I really love the. I don't know. I mean, the songs are so long. It's you can't use structural terms for them.
Right. Yeah. In fact, there was a lot of places in here where I was unaware of listening to a new song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the problem with post rock is you've got movements and that sort of thing rather than a chorus and
it's almost it's almost pointless to put divisions between the tracks.
Yeah.
Because there's so many divisions within the song, as it fades, it transitions to this, to this, to this, to this.
Yeah.
And if you transition to a new song, it might as well just be the same song.
Yeah, it might as well. Like if you're listening to a Godspeed record, especially.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just one big long song.
It is.
Don't pretend it's not. But I really love the ending to both Towers and A Beautiful Collapse, where things get really heavy.
Yeah.
A Beautiful Collapse gets very heavy towards the end, and then they have this once the guitar riff ends, they have this short little, I think it's a 3-note like keyboard riff that they have this really interesting, I guess a phaser would probably be the term for the effect.
The sound effect, yeah.
The effect that they have on that keyboard, but they have this short keyboard riff there. There's one of these songs on this record, I can't remember which one, but there is something that sounded very much like the really weird, I almost want to call it sounds a little like a theremin.
Oh,
but
sure. What
it reminded me of was the weird shit that Godspeed does with their violins.
Yeah.
But I think it was a keyboard effect. I don't think they were actually playing a theremin, but
there were no strings or theremins.
Yeah, I think it was just a keyboard effect that sounded a bit like a theremin. But they used that a little bit as well on Departure Songs in Challenger Part 1. There is something there that sounds like someone is treating a theremin very harshly. That is the sound effect you get during the explosion section, essentially. And it sounds like someone is really going nuts in front of a theremin.
Some sort of a grand mal situation.
Yeah. Yes, someone with Parkinson's is playing the theremin.
Oh man, if I ever record an album again, I'm so going to incorporate that in there somehow.
Shaky theremin.
Shaky theremin.
Is Parkinson's theremin a band name?
It might be.
It might be a band name. Oh God, that's a weird concept.
Parkinson's theremin.
Parkinson's. All of their music is really it's just really badly played theremin. This isn't a concept. You're just bad at playing the theremin. So since I was applying for a cat, I did not get a chance to look at the score. Oh, we didn't ask if it slaps. Do you think it slaps?
Man, I don't know if it slaps. I mean,
it doesn't slap. It's in like Dark Souls where an enemy is like really telegraphing the attack and it's charging up and it slams down and the whole room shakes and there's particle effects everywhere.
Sure.
That's what it does. It doesn't slap you.
It doesn't suddenly attack you. It just comes at you slowly.
Yeah, it's that big fat demon with the wings and the first boss in Dark Souls that has that giant hammer.
Right.
That's what it's doing.
It's the undead knight. It's
a death knight.
A death knight killing your entire
No,
party.
he moved fast.
Did he move fast?
He also had a 9 lives stealer.
Oh, neat.
He never managed to get a nat 20 off on us though, so he didn't instantly kill anybody. But I'd say that's what it does. It doesn't slap necessarily, but it hits hard when it decides it wants to punch. It doesn't pull anything.
Right.
And then a little bit later, it caresses you and says it's sorry for hitting you.
That has more torque than speed.
Yeah. There's some aftercare involved in this album.
There is.
So yeah, we already mentioned favorite songs. I was going to say I didn't have time to. Well, I did have time, but I spent that time
adopting a cat.
Yeah,
right?
applying to adopt a cat.
Looking at pussy on the internet.
Looking at a cute hairy pussy on the internet.
Ragdoll.
Okay, it's getting worse. We're making it worse. But yeah, so I don't know what the score was, but as far as I know, it's gotten pretty positive reviews. The reviews that I have read didn't have scores attached to them, but everyone seemed very positive about it.
That happens with a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
It has to really kind of settle in to get that letter grade.
Yeah. But as far as I know, I think people so far are being very positive about this album, which I think it deserves it. I enjoy it a lot.
I'm actually going to give this a gold.
You're giving it a gold?
Yeah.
Damn.
I liked it that much.
I'm also going to give it a gold. And if this gets a gold, and we never give out platinums, but I would give, if this gets a gold, I'd say Departure Songs gets a platinum.
Nice.
I love this album. For right now, I like Departure Songs more, but they're both fantastic.
Wouldn't that piss you off as an Olympian to find out? Hey, I got a gold medal.
We're giving this guy a platinum.
Oh, fuck you.
The first time ever, he did so good, he gets a platinum.
I got a gold medal. I'm a gold medalist.
That used to mean something. This is bullshit. Michael Phelps comes out of retirement to be the first platinum medalist. He gets the Bahamut medal.
Bahamut.
Yeah, because he's the platinum dragon.
Sure, exactly.
But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Gold medal for this. I can't recommend it highly enough. If you're one of those people that goes like, I'm interested in what they're talking about, but I can't really get into the vocals. Well, there's only gorgeous, beautiful, like angelic, and very super soulful
singing at the
clean
end,
vocals at the very end. Otherwise, there's no vocals whatsoever on this album, and I can't recommend highly enough that you listen to it. Give yourself some time, set aside an hour.
It's over. Yeah, it's an hour.
Set aside some time. Just sit down, free yourself from your distractions. Put on a good pair of headphones if you got them, and give this a listen. It's a damn fine album. So next week, what you planning on?
Okay, well I had 3 ideas in mind. There's one main one and 2 other ones. Because next week will be our Halloween show, although it won't come out till after Halloween.
Unfortunately, but yes.
But it'll be the one we do on the day before Halloween.
Hey, I could always put it out on Halloween. We could get real spooky with it.
All right. Well, okay, there was one by a band whose name sounds like Halloween, but it's nowhere near scary at all.
I was very interested in that. What were the other options, though?
The other options were, I was either going to do... Okay, that one I was talking about Halloween. You've heard of Halloween, right?
I think so. Was that the one that Dave King was in?
No.
Okay. That was the one I was super interested in.
That's Fastway.
Fastway, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing Fastway because they did the soundtrack to the movie Trick or Treat.
Yes, that's what it was.
Back in 1985, 86? I can't remember what year it was.
And you said there was a third one?
A third one, yeah. I was talking about doing it's actually a compilation album from Merciful Fate.
Oh, yes, okay. What was that one called again?
The Beginning.
The Beginning. See, I'm very intrigued by Fastway because I am someone who is familiar with Dave King via Flogging Molly.
Sure.
I used to listen pretty regularly to Flogging Molly.
And the guitarist, Fast Eddie from Motorhead.
And the Way.
And Dave Way, the bass player. He was the bass player for, oh my God, who's the bass player for?
I can't recall.
I know the drummer was from Humble Pie.
It was a super group.
It's a super group. Yeah, but a bunch of guys who were sort of disgruntled with what they were doing in music at the time.
And Dave King, who was a young, fresh fella from Ireland.
Yeah. Who does not sound Irish on this album.
Yeah, he's certain. Like, if you've listened to Flogging Molly and are like, he's wow, they sound
Irish.
They sound super Irish. Doesn't lean into the accent for Fastway, apparently.
No.
So yeah, it was Fast, Eddie Clark from Motorhead, and bassist Pete Way of UFO.
Pete Way of UFO, or as I used to say when I was a kid, UFO.
Yeah, UFO.
Bass player for UFO. You know what? Let's do that one.
I'm down for it.
All
like
right.
I said, I'm interested. Like I think it's the first super group we've done, and it's
the first soundtrack.
Yeah, and the first soundtrack as well, and it's. I'm interested to hear that part of Dave King's career because I had read about it. I'd never listened to Fastway, so I'm interested.
Trick or Treat. Let's do that one. Let's save Merciful Fate for another time.
Yeah,
and perhaps Halloween as well.
Perhaps.
They're German speed metal from Hamburg.
Hamburger metal.
Hamburger. Rubble.
Hamburger is hamburger metal what Mac Sabbath is?
That's Hamburglar metal. Yeah.
Oh, Mac Sabbath.
Yeah.
But that's next week. Week after that, I think that's when we're doing Opeth. We're going to be doing In Cauda Venium.
The new Opeth album.
The new Opa. The new Opa.
Opa. We're at a Greek wedding now.
or Russian. I think Russians say that too. But we're going to be doing the new Opeth album after that.
All right.
I think I'm saying it. In Cauda Venium. Something, I don't know. Interesting tidbit about that album is they released a Swedish version of it.
Nice.
They've never done that for any of their other albums. It's always been exclusively English with maybe some Swedish, mixed into it.
Incauda venenum.
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 Venom.
And
Venom. I live in a venom. Don't hurt yourself, kid.
Oh! Seaweed is good. Seaweed is fun.
I was waiting for you to continue.
Just food from the rays of the sun.
Okay. If you like the stuff that we do, you can check out our social media pages on the Facebook and the Twitter. If you like us or follow us or whatever the fuck you do on those platforms.
We should get a Snapchat.
A Snapchat? What are we going to put on the Snapchat?
I don't know.
Like, hey, I'm listening to the album for this week now. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody fucking cares.
I'm pooping before the show.
Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody cares about who's. Oh, my mom is texting me a bunch.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. We were doing so good, and we always fall apart in the last 5 minutes.
Sweet.
So yeah, check out our social media pages. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. You can do what you do on those pages to keep track of the stuff that we are up to. We always post new episodes there. Or if that's not your thing, just follow us on Libsyn or iTunes. There you go. So thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations!
What'd you do?
I don't
you
know.
okay?
I think there's a box.
Something's falling apart over here.
There's a box back here that I keep on.
Kale, he crushes the box.
Smashing that box, everybody.
He's talking about your mom.